What up, YouTube? It's time to get serious about astrology. Saturn serious about astrology. We have just had a new moon in Capricorn. This is a Saturn ruled sign. This new moon at 20 degrees of Capricorn has squared the lunar nodes exactly. The past, the future. What are we leaving behind? What are we moving towards? Hopefully, what we're leaving behind is the blame, the victim, the poor me, the excuses, the anything that's dysfunctional that keeps us stuck playing the old self. The relationship to X, Y, Z, relationship to this habit, to this behavior, to this reality, to this person, to this job, to this thing that keeps me stuck, looping into the past. Now we've got to get Capricorn serious. Mars is in Capricorn. Mars in Capricorn is about getting shit done, moving in the direction of your goals, your ambitions. And the North Node in Aries is the fire sign ruled over by Mars. Okay, Aries is about action, initiation, forward motion, pioneering, starting something, getting it off the ground, self-assertion, self-confidence, self-belief, self-directed, self-animated. I don't need anyone else. I got myself to do it. Now, the interesting thing about this new moon also is that Pluto is in the final degrees of Capricorn. So, transformation through crisis, perhaps for some of you, perhaps you're already going through the crisis, or the tension is just below consciousness level and you can feel it. And as the new moon goes through the cycle, the sun in a few days' time, on the 21st of January, is going to move into conjunction with Pluto and then both ingress into Aquarius. And as this new moon squared the lunar nodes, and then we get this transition of new energy and Pluto transitioning back into Aquarius, where it was in 2023, where it will be most of 2024 apart from September to November, and then where it will be post-November 2024 in Aquarius for 20 years. There is a transformation of humanity going on. There is an awakening of the collective unconsciousness. You can feel that, right? You can feel that since 2020. You can probably feel that since 2011, when they brought down the twins, the Gemini, right? When they brought down the mind control symbol that was laid over the veil, right? Now we can see beyond the veil, we can see the control and manipulation. So what does that mean? Do we stay victim of that? And look, they're doing this, they're doing that, he's doing, they're dark, here's a tunnel, here's the thing. Or do we take back the control and the power and it all lies within? And this is where we're at. But we must learn some fucking lessons. We've got to learn some lessons, and we've got to learn in the hard way, we've got to learn in the Saturn way. So I'm going to break down in this video Saturn lessons in Aquarius and Capricorn, where it was 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023 to a degree. And then in 2023, it moved into Pisces. And now we've got Saturn in Pisces. What are the lessons with Saturn in Pisces? And how can we use the dynamics and polarity of the zodiac to understand Pisces, understand the challenges and what we're learning and what we're overcoming and what we're letting go of? And with Saturn, we're always learning lessons the hard fucking way. With Jupiter, we learn lessons the good way. We expand through experiences, through knowledge, through travel, through foreign lands and foreign culture, for getting beyond the known and into the unknown. Jupiter is very expansive in that sense. Saturn's lessons are very constricting, they're blocking, they're limiting, they're challenging, they're sort of hardship. Why? Because Saturn is the lord of the physical world. Saturn rules this reality, this earth, your reality that you stand in. Saturn is the reaper, he rules time, he is Kronos in the Greek mythology, god of time. He's the grim reaper, he's the planet of death. Ooh, Saturn. He's also the planet of authority. He's also the crown, the Kronos, the crown. And if you want to become the crown, become free, become liberated, become sovereign, through great freedom comes great responsibility. And it's a responsibility you have to hear first. So let's dive into the Saturn significations and look at Saturn's transit through the last few years and what the lessons have been. And we can see these lessons when we look at the archetypes that are represented by this. So Saturn, if we go back to 2020, Saturn was in his home sign of Capricorn. Capricorn is structure. Capricorn is systemized. Capricorn is diligent. Capricorn is goal-orientated. Capricorn is responsible, disciplined. Capricorn is about doing the work. The lessons for us with Saturn in Capricorn were around responsibilities. Taking care of business was what we were challenged with, and what our lessons were around was where we were taking responsibility, personal responsibility. Now, Saturn was in Capricorn during the Saturn-Pluto conjunction of January 2020, which was the astrological alignment that seeded the pandemic. In the Greek mythology, Capricorn was known as the goat god Pan, and Pan is where we get the root word pandemonium, panic, pandemic. So Saturn, the government, the boss, the authority in its home sign of Capricorn, and we had a pandemic. But what was required of people during the pandemic? Personal responsibility. What was challenged? What was challenged with Saturn in Capricorn? The sign opposite, Cancer. What was challenged was emotional security. What was challenged is we were locked down. We were put in a state of emotional insecurity. Through what? Through fear, right? Panic, Capricorn, of death, Saturn. And we were locked down in our home, Cancer, but also separated from our loved ones and our families because of border closures, because of port closures, because of no travel, because of all the restrictions, Saturn, right? So we had to have extreme personal responsibility of our emotional well-being, even though we were in a particular state of heightened fear and panic and emotional insecurity. So the lesson was taking personal responsibility for our emotional security. If you could do that through 2020, you were able then to navigate that landscape a lot easier because you were not necessarily impacted as much by what was going on in the collective, okay? And you could then make personal choices based on your personal values, personal responsibility. Now, shortly after, Saturn was in Capricorn, because this conjunction of Saturn and Pluto at 2020 in January happened at the 22nd degree, so very close to where the new moon was. This was 20 degrees. So way back then, on January 12th, 13th, 2020, this Saturn-Pluto conjunction, we put Pluto in red because it was down the alarm, right, was at 22 degrees of Capricorn, which means that shortly after this conjunction, Saturn moved into the next sign, its other sign that it rules, which was Saturn in Aquarius. In fact, let's not do it like that, because I want to save the blue for the Pisces, because Pisces is water, so I haven't got a air sign color, but we've got Saturn here moving into Aquarius. Okay, which the sign opposite Aquarius, Leo the lion. So Saturn moved into Aquarius, and it was the sign of humanity, the collective community, and what we're all in this together. We're all in this social, right? This is a social sign. Distancing. Saturn in Aquarius, social distancing. Okay, so what was the lesson here? After we had responsibility for emotional security, our lesson here was detachment. In order to take responsibility for your own pathway, you had to detach from what they were suggesting you were supposed to do in order for us to navigate, this land of And what was challenged with Saturn and Aquarius? Social distancing. We're all in this together. What was challenged is the individual was challenged, which is the self. Don't be selfish. Don't be selfish. When they started with the mandates, when they started with the policy, right? It was, we're all in this together. Do it for your community. Do it for your grandma. Do it for everyone but yourself. Don't listen to what you want. Don't listen to, the things that you think and what you know to be right in here. Don't express yourself, right? Don't express yourself. Mask up. Remember that? Masking up? You know, covering the face. The face is the expression of the self. We've all got a unique face, and our hair and or lack of it or whatever, it's the self-expression. Don't do that, right? We become what? Detached from that. Now, we had to learn detachment from the bullshit, the narrative, and we had to have strength, right? In the tarot, Leo card is strength. We had to be strong in order to detach from what was going on. And we had to learn those lessons the hard way. Or we could succumb to the external authority, and we're all in this together, and you've got to do it for your grandma, do it for your community, do it for your neighbors, do it for everyone but yourself. Don't be selfish. How's that working out now? As this new moon activated Pluto in Capricorn, and when the Sun and Pluto move together very soon, 20th, 22nd, 21st of January, they're going to move to 0 degrees of Aquarius. Okay? Well, at the end of 2020, we had Saturn had already been into Aquarius and then back into Cap and then back into Aquarius. And right on the winter solstice in the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere is the summer solstice, Saturnalia, right? Right on that moment, we have the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction at 0 degrees of Aquarius. The grand conjunction, right? This grand conjunction was the seed of a new reality that was thrust upon us, forced upon us with the whole pandemic that was going on. And with this here came the answer, the truth, the way, right? The answer, the truth, the way. When you Saturn-Jupiter conjunctions happening every 20 years, we always get this sort of transition of the structure, the rules, the governance, the idea, the idealism of reality and the way in which we interact. And what was the answer? That it was mass inoculation. And that was deep coercion put into place of emotional insecurity and fear, driven into this sort of like, we're all in this together, and don't do it for your selfish reasons, do it for your grandma and everything else. And guess what? Then came the shining light. This gets us out of here. We can all that mass inoculation. Now, there was so much plutonic, subversive manipulation and control and connection, right? In other words, orchestration happening at a very unconscious level. Because you had, especially in Western culture, Western systems of governance, democracies, you had the government and the media in lockstep with the message. Doesn't matter if you're in the US, Canada, UK, Australia, South Africa, New Zealand, doesn't matter where you were. Think about that. How did they all coerce? How did they all come together? How did they all organize that? Because there was plutonic fuckery going on at an unconscious level. There were things, there were meetings in dark rooms and shadowy places, and that were happening to create this system, to control, to strip you of your authority, to take away your crown, right? So that was happening. Now, bringing that back into this new moon that we just had, as the sun moves forward through the last degrees of Capricorn, reminiscent of this Saturn, Capricorn, Pluto conjunction 2020, right? It's going to sun. The sun is a light source. The sun is a beacon of consciousness. The sun illuminates, it brings light, it brings awareness, consciousness to whatever it expresses. That's why on your birthday, you feel good on your birthday. Why do you feel good on your birthday? Because the sunlight is on you. It's your time to shine. Now, unless you've had a bad year or things are really going on that are fucked in your life, sometimes you're going to have a birthday that's shit. And if you looked astrologically, you'd probably find this guy somewhere around influencing your sun during a shitty birthday. Why? Because it's hard, it's depressive, it's burdensome, it's a struggle. We've all had those times, but generally speaking, when the sun illuminates your sun in your natal chart, called your solar return, when the sun comes back to the exact place it was when you were born, you have your birthday and you feel generally good. Why? Because the sunlight's shining on you. So the sun brings this consciousness, this awareness, this light to what it touches. And the sun, Pluto together, entering into Aquarius at 0 degrees is illuminating the Plutonic aspect of what was happening back here. The Plutonic aspect, he's the god of the underworld, right? He's the god of the underworld. The underworld represents the unconscious or the unknown or the unseen. It's invisible, it's kept secretive. There is superficial reality where 90% of people live in this idea. It's like, yay, isn't this wonderful? Look at me and look at this and do that and do this and distract ourselves with all the entertainment and reality and blah, 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 blah. And then there's the fucking reality that's going on, the deeper level, the real authentism, self, the fucking shit, the mundane, the fucking hard shit, the real fucking juicy stuff, the scorponic, the Plutonic aspect is what's hidden deeper below the surface. So, what Pluto tends to do is to reveal that or push pressure on that from the unconscious into the consciousness. Now, Pluto coming out of Capricorn, which is an earth sign, and into Aquarius, an air sign, and air represents consciousness, thought, mind, awareness. Aquarian is very objectivity. Aquarian doesn't really care too much for your feelings. They're easy to detach. They can be very articulate, direct. They can see clearly. They make fantastic psychologists and experts in human behavior because they see it as it is. And often they say it as it is too. And for a lot of people that's confronting because it's like, oh, you hurt my feelings. And Aquarians go, what feelings? So when this happens, this is going to seed this transition of Pluto into Aquarius and bring a lot of shit to light, which is going to create a lot of like insecurity around, what do you mean that happened? It's already happening. The foul chi, the false light, right? The foul chi, the faux pas, faux, foul, false, fake, phony, foul, chi, light, prana, breath, source, light, consciousness, beingness. The foul chi, the false light, it's already come out and he's eating his words and going back on what he was saying back here. Oh, no, this is not no mistake. This has come out of China and this is gain of function fuck up from the laboratory. They're going to tell you it's a mistake. Well, we know here, with this Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn, it was orchestrated. It was organized. It was done in order to control the masses. That's the game here. If they take away your crown and become the authority, you are now living in the control of an external source of authority. And that's where we've been for a long time. When you wake up, it's time to take back Aquarium. It's become your own authority. Now, so here we are on this precipice, and we're moving now. But what's happened is Saturn has now moved into Pisces. Okay, and Saturn in Pisces, we're learning new lessons in Saturn in Pisces. Okay, and we're really going to be tested on this. We're already being tested on this because Saturn tests us. He wants the best in us. He wants us to be the disciple, the apprentice into the master. He wants you to master life, master yourself. So he's going to test the fuck out of you. Jupiter's energy brings these opportunities for growth and expansion. Saturn brings these struggles, these challenges, these difficulties, these hardships, these burdens, these bridges, these obstacles, these restrictions, these limitations, all these types of things to refine you, to define you. Now, Saturn in Pisces, which is opposite Virgo, and Virgo being an earth sign, we put Virgo over here, Virgo the Virgin. So we have these two archetypes now that we're learning this Saturn lesson through. The negative archetype of Pisces is worry, blame, victim. Poor me. The positive is compassion, empathy, sympathy, surrender, faith, letting go. When we are holding on to the victim, it happened, someone did it, I'm not responsible, they did it, it's out there. This happened to me, with this strong identification with what happened, and that happened to me. I need you to know you did that. I feel this way because of you. Fantastic. You stay then stuck in the negative archetype of Saturn, and when you're in the negative, of Pisces, and when you're in the negative archetype of Pisces, you're stuck in worry, right? But you're also stuck in criticism, which is the shadow of Virgo, is the critic. And when you look out of victim, you look out of the world and you see the negative shadow of Virgo, the critique of what? Everything that's not right, everything that's not good, all the reasons why you have to stay and maintain this victim mindset. This poor me, this, oh my God, this happened to me. So now we've got to learn the positive aspects of Pisces the hard way. We've got to learn compassion, forgiveness. Why forgiveness? Because Pisces is about transcendence. Pisces is about letting go. How do we let go? We forgive. If we don't, what are we doing? We're holding on to it. We're holding on to the identification with it, resentment for it, the anger, all of the bitterness that comes from holding on. When you let go, you can no longer identify with what that was and who that person was that you were being because of it. So it's very hard to do, but it's the lesson here to let go. And forgiveness is the way. If you don't have forgiveness, you've got victim, right? You've got a victim. And when the victim has that mindset, he looks out into the world and has so many reasons to be critical and to be negative and pessimistic and analytical, and and that can be directed towards self and others. And what's impacted with Saturn now in Pisces, this hardship, this lesson that we're learning, is health. So if you are in blame and poor me because of the world and it's the world's problems and I'm not taking responsibility and I have a right to do that, and very well fair. It doesn't, when you forgive and when you let go and when you do this work, it doesn't dismiss what happened. It doesn't condone it or make it right. It just says I'm letting it fucking go. It's done. What was in the past? This is the sign of endings and undoings, karmic releasings. It's the past. It's the final sign of the zodiac. What are you going to let go of? What lesson do you need to learn with Saturn here in the past? The past 30 years, the Saturn cycle, 27, 28 years, right? So let's just say this 30-year cycle. Look back over the 30 years. Look at the regrets, the shame, the guilt. Look at the sadness. Look at the anger, the frustration. Look at the blame. Look at the bitterness. Look at the fucking all the problems that have happened in the last 30 years. How can you have compassion? First for self, then for others. Self-compassion is such an important thing to have. When you've got self-compassion, you're not hard on yourself. You're not blaming yourself or blaming the world for your problems. You're taking responsibility and you're saying, you know what? I've learned a lesson because of that experience. I can take from it the shitness, right? This is one way in which you can learn how to let go of the blame and the victim and the poor me and all of that story. The helplessness, the despair, because when the victim is in a state of blame, guess what? It's not your fault. And if it's not your fault, you don't have to do anything about it. It's because of all these other things. Think of this in context to this, what was going on in the last 3 years. Think of this negative mindset. Think of this. Now, this is going to take enormous work for those that were not awakened in this period, that believed and went along with the external authority and did what they thought was the right thing to do. And now they've ended up in a situation because I shouldn't have done that. I didn't know better. I wasn't acting out of my strength, right? I wasn't taking care of my own emotional. I needed someone else to look after me. Please, government, save me. And now I'm becoming Plutonic, aware of Aquarian, of all of the stuff that was hidden, and now it's coming to light, and I could be here and stuck in blame mode. Well, they did that to me. Yeah? Well, you did it through your unawareness to yourself. And that's a hard lesson to learn. And there can be extreme guilt, regret, shame, condemnation, heaviness to let go of. But Saturn in Pisces, this is part of life for the last 30 years that we are collectively overcoming. What does it look like when we're limited in our awareness, when we're not aware, when we're not taking personal responsibility? What does it look like? Well, that's what the world showed you what it was. Okay, well, that's a hard lesson to learn. How can I harvest the goodness, the usefulness from that lesson, right? The Virgo is the harvest sign. I need to harvest that experience. When you harvest something, you take everything that's beneficial, right? All the nutrients, the goodness, the usefulness, the things you can use, and all of the other stuff, the chaff, sort the wheat from the chaff, that's the animal food. Why? That's the waste material. That's not good for human consumption. What from this era in particular, what from the last 30 years is the chaff? Sometimes the chaff's necessary to carry the goodness. It's part of it. It's like when you eat food like McDonald's, right? You take on McDonald's, there's very little nutrients in that, so there's a lot of chaff, and our body has to work hard to extract the goodness and shit out the rest. So sometimes life experience, especially 2020, 2021, 2022, there was a lot of chaff. Well, what was the goodness that come from that? The goodness is the lesson. Okay, I have a bit of regret, and I need to practice self-compassion. I need to forgive myself. I need to forgive others. I need to move on and let go. This can happen in the collective, but also personally as well. What has happened in the last 3 to 4 years that you need to learn a little bit of compassion and leave it in the past. Let it go, let it be. Saturn will move shortly. 2025, Saturn will move and join Neptune. Saturn will move into Aries. And it is in debilitation in Aries. So we're going to see some huge changes to the government, to rules, to boundaries, to restrictions, right? And this is going to be, Saturn's going to have a Neptune conjunction then, right? So Saturn is debilitated in Aries because it likes to be exalted in into Libra, okay? This is where Saturn is at its peak in Libra. Opposite, it struggles. So Saturn energy struggles in Aries. Now, Neptune dissolves boundaries and structures and makes things a little bit more vague and a little bit more weak and a little bit more transcendent and energetic and sensitive and all those things, rather than just concrete and structured and reality. It's like a little bit of, ooh, is this real or isn't this real? So the effect of Neptune is to dissolve. You already have a debilitated Saturn, then you have this Neptune influence, right? So we have to let go of this whole karmic endings and undoings and compassion and empathy and past stuff to start this whole new cycle moving forward. And there is going to be a complete, radical fucking transformation of rules, boundaries, authority, government, structure. The Saturn rule things, and they're going to be weakened completely. Already you can see this. They'll tell you when you look at NASA, they'll say that Saturn's rings are dissolving and Saturn's losing its rings. The rings are symbolic for boundaries. So Saturn, they're telling you Saturn's losing its rings. They're just symbolically telling you that Saturn's losing its power, right? And they're preparing you subliminally, subconsciously for the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries. Saturn's losing its power. But Saturn is also going to be teaching us lessons, and teaching us lessons of Aries. You've got to be self-directed. You've got to be self-assured. You've got to be self-assertive, self-confident. You've got to have self-belief. You've got to look after number one first. Okay? Now, coming back to this Pisces energy here, this blame, poor me, victim, we've got to transcend to the positive: forgiveness, compassion, sympathy, empathy, letting go. Why would we want to do that? Because we personally have acted from a state of unawareness, or someone else has acted from a state of unawareness, and we've hurt one another or each other, and now we're in the pain of that. And Pisces pain is the pain of the soul. Our soul aches because we've been hurt in that deep level. So we're in a place of suffering. Buddha says that attachment equals suffering. Attachment to what? To the Maya, to the illusion, to the physical realm. This here, this temporal existence that we live, this non-eternal space, this place for the reality to play out for a period of time, Saturn being the ruler of time, Saturn being the ruler of Earth, of the material realm, it plays out for a period of time. It doesn't play out for eternity. The aspect of us that is eternal, right? The spirit, the soul, the journey and the evolution of that, the eternal, needs to learn how to detach or become unattached, disconnected from, right? And then you end up in this place of like, it isn't good or bad. They aren't nice or mean. It just is. It just is. And when you're in that place of it just is, you can practice compassion, sympathy and empathy. You can practice forgiveness. You can let go. You cannot allow things to really get to you as much. When you have an identification, a strong attachment to an identity or way of being who you are, or to things, or to people, or to experiences, or to the fact that the government's going to save us, you're going to suffer. At some point, you are going to suffer. You're going to suffer to the extent that you are attached. And the deeply attached that you are to your story, to your victim, to the experience, to what happened in the past, to who did or said something, or what they made you do or not do, or the choices you had or others, and whatever it is that you're deeply attached to the proportion or the extent that you're attached, you are going to suffer. Now, you might want to prolong your suffering to avoid, to distract, right? Avoidant and a distraction from what? What happens when people are hurt? What happens when people are being victimed, right? What do? They cut like the scissors and they go, boom, you're dead to me. That's over there. I don't have to deal with it. I'll cut it out. I'll be over here and I'll avoid that. You, him, her, they, whatever that was, I'll avoid it. Only to be continually triggered in this reality by anything that represents that consciously or energetically. We cannot do that anymore. You cannot avoid. You have to confront. And in confrontation of it, you have to realize that this has been operating here from a place, this hurt, this pain, this victim, this experience, that's been operating from either yourself or others, or a combination of that, in a place of unawareness. So forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. That was the teaching of Jesus, saying to God, forgive them, Father. They don't know what they're doing. That's Jesus looking upon earth and going, holy fuck, these motherfuckers are disconnected and asleep. They have no idea what they're fucking doing. Father, they're going to fucking hurt each other. They're going to hurt themselves. Can we just offer them forgiveness for doing that because of their unawareness? They're asleep. Basically, that's what that teaching is. Jesus, Jupiter Zeus, right? Jupiter is the ruler of Pisces, the age of Pisces. The lesson is forgiveness, compassion, empathy. Let it go. Let it go. Why? Because you're unaware. You're not consciously aware, or you weren't, and now you are. So let go of what happened to you, or what you did when you were consciously asleep. Don't hang on to the victim, to the poor me, to the hurt. Don't hang on to it, because then you're going to look out to this world and you're going to see so many. You're only going to focus. When you're in the shadow of Pisces, you are only going to focus on the aspect of your reality, because this is the opposite Virgo. And Virgo is, we are separating what's good from what's not good. But when you're in the shadow of Pisces, you're only going to focus on the not good. You're only going to see all the shit. You're only going to see the shit in yourself or the shit in other people. And that's going to do one thing. It's going to reinforce the negative, right? So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You are literally subconsciously attracting in the shit to tell you that you have a reason to feel shit. Where does this loop, right? I feel shit, therefore I only see the shit, therefore that shit makes me believe I have a reason to feel shit. This is what goes around, comes around. This is the law of equivalent exchange. This is karma in play. Here is Saturn, the Lord of Karma, entered to Pisces, teaching us the lessons of Pisces. You stay stuck here, guess what's going to happen? One of two things, or a combination of these. You stay stuck in this negative here, you're only ever going to see the bad in yourself and others, and you're going to have worry, right? Or critique. You're going to have worry and critique about the world. Why are you going to have worry and critique? Because in the shadows. There's the shadows of this. The worrier, the critiquist, right? Everything's bad, or I'm worried about something that might happen or could happen. What if this? What if that? What if that? Okay? So, in this pattern of I feel shit, poor me, or shame, guilt, I did bad, or someone did bad to me, boom, I'm looking out the world and I see only reasons to feel shit. Look, see, all the negative. I don't focus on any of the other good stuff. I'm focused on the chaff, not the wheat. I focus on the shit. I focus on the part of Macca's that's crap, that's in the toilet bowl, not the little tiny bit of nutrient that might come from it. Sometimes it's all shit. McDonald's, right? Put it in the shit. Sometimes it's all shit. Great. Let it all go. That's what we do with shit. Let it go. Process it. The earth offers it. What does the earth do with shit, manure, and death and decay? Transforms it, regenerates it. It's a new life. You want new, you got to let go of the shit. Now, when you're in that, look at all the reasons my life's shit and I feel shit. See, I told you, I'm right. I'm validating myself. I'm self-validating. I'm attached to the identity of feeling like the poor me. So therefore, that reinforces the very thing that I am. It says, yep. And Saturn comes in and goes, yeah. What does this world feel like? Well, here's the reality that you're going to live now based on this mindset. And it's time, Saturn, to get off that wheel. And it starts here, looking at yourself, practicing self-compassion, self-forgiveness, surrender, let go, empathy, sympathy, forgiveness of the self, right? Forgive the Father for they know what they can do. Forgive you, so you can forgive someone else, that you can let that go, and then you can start to see the focus onto the good things. Now here I said there's two things that are possibility to happen, and Virgo rules health and illness. So we're going to see a huge uptick in health and illness with Saturn in Pisces, because the negative archetype of being activated and brought into reality, the victim, the blame, the shame, the guilt, and all of that emotional instability and the realization of that and the lived experience that's going to be brought into the physical through the body, the vessel, and the reality is going to activate this reality that we're going to experience with a huge increase in illness and health challenges. Massive. Saturn right now moved into Pisces, went to the 7th or 8th degree, retrograded back. It's now at 4 degrees Pisces. It's moving this year to the 19th, back to the 12th, then back again, right? Saturn's got another 2 years of this energy. This here, the health system, the health of people in general, the increase in all forms of mortality, all forms of cancer, doesn't matter what the health is and what's increasing, we're going to see a real increase in that. With Pluto, right, up here, with Pluto into Aquarius, well, Aquarius is opposite Leo, so Leo's the heart. So the crisis, health crisis, Pluto, transformation through crisis, Aquarius, the crisis is in the heart. And when you are in balance, blame, victim, poor me, the world, this happened, they did it, did that, and I can't take responsibility for the way. It's the heart, you're not in the heart. You got to get into your heart, you got to heal your heart, and you heal the heart through love. To love yourself in spite of the difficulties, to love yourself in spite of the unawareness, in spite of your past, in spite of the guilt, in spite of the shame, in spite of all of that, in spite of what's happened. You can love yourself. You can feel shit and love yourself. You can be a failure and love yourself. You can be hurt and love yourself. You can be sad and love yourself. You can be angry and happy and still love yourself. Because the feelings and the emotions are not you. You have them, you experience them, you process them, you move through them and you let them go. You've got to find the you beyond all of that. True transcendence right now is to find the true you. It's not your story, it's not your past, it's not your body, it's not your name, it's not your identity, it's not your gender, it's not any of those things, it's the eternal aspect of you. And you've got to have so much compassion, empathy, sympathy, and love. And you've got to realize that that's what you're doing here, is you're evolving into this idea of you. And this period now, and this transition of Pluto into Aquarius, it's fucking time to awaken. What world do you want to awaken to? One of continual control, manipulation, restriction, lack, right? Disconnection from one another, from self, from source, kept in this perpetual state of being lost at sea? Or do you want to find yourself and save yourself? And now with the nodes in Aries, this is the path. The instability, the conflict, the chaos, the upheaval that is coming is going to require you to be so in control of you and in your heart and letting it all fucking go. Let all of it go. The story, the way of life, the being, the system, the money, the fucking fame, the fortune, the fucking everything. Letting it all go to transcend completely. There are going to be many, many casualties along the way, and that is going to be necessary for this evolution to take place, because the heaviness is going to be purged. The extreme polarity and polarization will be purged. The extremes will be materialized and annihilated to bring forth the transformation and the unity. Do not be polarized out here on the edge and the fringe. All right? It's Republican, it's Democrat, it's that, it's this, it's Israel, it's Palestine. None of that. Extreme. You find the center. Right? And you stay grounded here on the earth, in your body and in your center, in connection through to your source, and you and I and many like us will transcend. And we are here to recreate a new way of being, and it is not relying upon some external system, external authority, external master to rule, to govern us, because that is only keeping us restricted, limited, and that keeps this system going. It's time for a new system. It's time to learn Saturn lessons the hard way. It's time to take this shit seriously. It's time. Peace out. I'm Luke from Astro Awakening. If you want to get a personal chart reading to navigate 2024, book in for a year ahead reading. You can do that through my website, all the details below. If you like this video, please hit the like, subscribe, and share this out to those that need it. Give them the wake-up call that is now getting to the point of being too fucking late. Peace out. See you soon.